we have to stand up as a community to support each other and to fight against injustice and to end the violence.
Protesters are out in Ferguson and throughout St. Louis this weekend, marching and calling for change.
Morning, Kelly. All morning long, I'll be live along West Florissant Avenue here in Ferguson, looking at how Ferguson is moving forward.
Strong storms overnight. So far, they've stayed just north of our area. What to expect for the rest of your Sunday? That's coming up.
Live from KMOV, News 4 is covering breaking news.
Breaking news in North St. Louis, where a house exploded overnight. It happened around 1:30 this morning in the 4200 block of Linton, just blocks north of Fairground Park. Firefighters say the home is vacant. The fire spread to 2 other houses, but the flames are now extinguished. No one was injured. Right now, fire investigators and the bomb and arson squad are now on the scene, trying to figure out how this happened. Once we get more information, we'll let you know. More breaking news for you this morning. A man is recovering in the hospital after he was shot in the arm. It happened around midnight near West Florissant and Ferguson Avenue. Police are still working to figure out the details, but we do know the suspect is in custody and the victim is in stable condition. Now to another developing story. An unarmed Florissant police car window was shattered late last night. St. Louis County Police are now investigating. It happened on West Florissant near Ferguson Avenue around the same time as the shooting. Police are not sure if the two are related. Good morning and thanks for joining us. I'm Kelly Davis. Today marks 1 year since the world began watching the events in Ferguson unfold. Just before noon, unarmed 18-year-old Michael Brown Jr. was shot and killed by former police officer Darren Wilson. The atmosphere was tense from the start. Hundreds gathered at the site of the shooting near the Canfield Green Apartments and along West Florissant. By the end of August 10th, police in riot gear shot off tear gas at protesters in the streets. The night was filled with looting and riots, but throughout the next few days, the message shifted from one of anger to calls for change. After months of relative calm, the world tuned in again as a dozen buildings went up in flames on November 24th. That's the night the grand jury's announced its decision not to indict Darren Wilson. And this morning, we are reflecting on where we've been, what changes have been made, and where we are headed as a unified community. Andre Hepkins joins me now live from Ferguson on West Florissant. Andre?
Good morning, Kelly. And you mentioned the word change, and change will be the theme today and for days to come. So much has changed in our community in the past year. All morning long, I'll be live along West Florissant Avenue here in Ferguson. And it's hard to believe that a year ago, this stretch of West Florissant Avenue became an international symbol of all the issues that had been plaguing the St. Louis region for years. Yesterday, I was along West Florissant Avenue here with some 150 marchers who joined Mike Brown Sr. They marched to Normandy High School, where Mike Brown Jr. graduated, and they marched from the site where he was shot dead after being seen alive for the last time inside the Ferguson Market and Liquor Store behind me.
What's going on in your head and in your heart right now as you mark the year to your son's death?
All the same emotions. You know, I loved my boy. This ain't no game, man, to me. This is serious to me. You know, this support that I have and that for people that lost their kids, that makes me, it builds me up to make me know that I have a bigger mission, you know, than to just sit there and just fall. But this is serious to me, man.
What is your mission?
My mission is to move forward, empower kids, empower the youth, brotherhood.
Yes.
You know, this is a fraternity that yes. If you ain't lost a kid, you can't get in here. You wouldn't understand what we feel.
That's right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So where we at right now, this is what we building, you know, to make us all strong, to move forward, brother.
That was yesterday morning, just before 10 o'clock. That's where he and his supporters and other people from the community from various backgrounds marched from Canfield Drive down West Florissant Avenue here to Normandy High School, which graduated his son. And although he's still grieving the loss of his son, he sees his son's death as an opportunity for Ferguson, St. Louis County, our region, our state, to grow and learn from the experience of his death. And we'll be talking about all the changes that have come to this community throughout the next 2 hours here on News 4 this morning. For now, I'm live along West Florissant Avenue. Andre Hepkins, News 4. Kelly, back to you.
A very moving message. Thank you, Andre. One issue that was a point of protest in Ferguson was the way the city handled its municipal court, specifically with how much the city was making in fines. The old judge came under fire and the state Supreme Court appointed a new judge to take his place. Back in March, News 4's Alexis Sotos joined the new judge on his first day.
The judge was okay, I think he was fair.
Our cameras were not allowed inside for the first night of municipal court since the release of the DOJ report. Instead, we were able to watch the judge speak about the changes from a video feed.
If you commit the same offense here as you do in Chesterfield or in Afton or anywhere else, the fine's going to be the same, and I think that's fair.
Judge Richter replaces former Judge Ronald Brockmeyer, who resigned after the DOJ criticized him for racking up huge fines to generate millions for Ferguson's revenue. Tonight, Judge Richter said he would not punish anyone for inability to pay and appeared to work with individuals in regards to those fines.
Can you take care of most of it tonight, or okay? Okay, they'll put you on a payment plan.
Something both defendants,
he was making it clear that he was trying to work with people,
and attorneys seem to appreciate.
Taking into account inability to pay is a big thing, and it's going to be a big thing. And the more, the different municipalities can kind of latch onto that idea, offer community service to some defendants who can't pay the fines that they've been, kind of trapped in, it's going to be better.
That was News 4's Alexis Sotos reporting. The changes to the fines went into effect April 1st. Judge Roy Richer will remain as the judge in Ferguson for the foreseeable future. Governor Jay Nixon was in the St. Louis area on Friday. His stop included a visit to the Ferguson Commission meeting. It has been 9 months since the governor swore in the 16 members to address social and economic unrest. Nixon reflected on the group's accomplishments.
Thanks to the people in this room, leadership, and a lot of other folks of goodwill. My sense is that folks are listening to each other much better. We're learning a lot, and people are committed to making things better.
The meeting comes one day after Nixon announced plans to update standards for law enforcement officers in the state. Coming up in our next half hour, News 4 Investigates will be taking an in-depth look at the Ferguson Commission. Now we got to send it over to Kristen Cornett in the Weather Center because there are a chance of storms today.
Yes, certainly could see some storms. So far overnight has been quiet. Take a look at SkyTracker Doppler radar. We do have dry conditions currently throughout the News 4 viewing area. But as we shift that focus a little bit further to the north, northern Missouri, west central Illinois under the gun. But these storms aren't severe. Very heavy rain, a lot of lightning, but not severe storms currently. There's a low risk we could have some severe weather, mainly north of St. Louis today, but it's a pretty low threat. And the main concern would be winds. This isn't really a tornado maker for us. We do have a heat advisory that kicks in at noon and goes through 8 p.m. today. St. Louis is not included, but everybody west is. The heat index should top out somewhere between 105 and 110 in these areas today. Not quite as high around the metro. I think we'll peak around 101 this afternoon. Here's a look at temperatures currently. We're in the 70s all across the area. It's 77 in St. Louis, but 71 in Alton and 75 in Chesterfield. So this morning we could see a few storms generally north of Interstate 70, temperatures in the mid 70s. This afternoon, partly sunny, highs around 90. We could get a stray storm during the afternoon, but the better chance of rain really holds off until much later on tonight. We'll take a look at the details of that extended forecast for you coming up in just a few minutes. Kelly?
Kristen, thank you. Now to other developing stories this morning. Police found a man shot to death in Alton. The major case squad is now investigating. The victim has been identified as 41-year-old James Hubbard. He was discovered around 2 a.m. on Saturday on Oakwood Avenue in Alton. Detectives with the major case squad say they are following leads and interviewing witnesses, but so far there have been no arrests. Anyone with information can call Crime Stoppers or Alton Police. A driver is hospitalized after his car flipped off an overpass and was then hit by an oncoming train. The accident happened Saturday afternoon along Interstate 270 at the exit for 370. That's in North St. Louis County. Police say the car went off the exit ramp and onto the train tracks below. The train engineer spotted the car and was able to slow down before impact. The driver was taken to the hospital with serious injuries. Meanwhile, a pedestrian is hurt after being hit by a semi-truck in downtown St. Louis. It happened around 1 Saturday afternoon at 4th and Olive. At this point, it's not clear how badly the victim was injured. Police say the driver remained on scene. Still to come on News 4 this morning, a spike in crime is prompting some local residents to take action to better protect themselves. We'll explain how they're doing it.
After months of recovery here in Ferguson, there are positive signs of change, including a new center dedicated to children. I'll show you how they're using kids to reunite this community. News 4 this morning. We'll be right back.
You're watching News 4, watching out for you.
Welcome back. I'm Hepkins along West Florissant Avenue here in Ferguson. Earlier, I told you that we'll be talking about the positive changes that have come to this community in the year since Michael Brown Jr. was shot dead not too far away from where I'm standing. There's a new community center dedicated to children that was born out of the unrest in Ferguson. The Boys and Girls Clubs of St. Louis opened a brand new club at the Ferguson Middle School not too far away from here. Photojournalist Nick Zervos and I were there for the grand opening. Take a look.
Water, I have water. That's a balancing act.
Hundreds of kids from Ferguson and surrounding cities now have after-school access to this cafeteria, classrooms, gyms, and computers at the Ferguson Middle School Club. Not long ago and not far away, former Officer Darren Wilson shot Mike Brown dead, sparking a period of anger and anxiety.
Well, I know we're going to go swimming a lot this year. We plan to have robotics, which I really like.
Danielle Kane is among the children, parents, and educators who joined politicians at the federal, state, and local levels for an inside ribbon cutting, followed by an outside balloon release. Corporate and community donors have already pledged about $2 million to make this new space for a new perception possible.
It's our vision that every kid leaves our club with a plan for the future.
So the Boys and Girls Club here at Ferguson Middle School is right next to January Wabash Park here at the intersection of January Avenue and North Florissant Road. About a half mile away from what was once the Little Caesars that was set on fire after the grand jury decision in November.
It's right around the corner, and certainly the kids are out of school and they need activities, and this is a positive place that they should be able to come and be safe.
You said you're into robotics, you into science?
Yeah. I actually want to be a scientist for NASA when I grow up.
And it's the positive dreams of children adults hope will lead to real-life change. Let's talk more about the children. A lot of the children were impacted by the unrest in Ferguson a year ago. A lot of them missed several days of school. A lot of them couldn't get that back-to-school haircut, especially if they went to Prime Time Barbershop here along West Florissant Avenue. Well, speaking of this barbershop, it was shut down as a result of that unrest. But this year, the owner, Antonio Henley, who's been in this community for 20 years, is going to offer free haircuts to children, all school-age children, from kindergarten up to high school, from 11 a.m. today through 5 p.m. as a way to give back.
We just want to give back to the community. Every year we try to do a little something. Last year, unfortunately, we weren't able to give back to the community during the situation that was going on. But this year, things are calmed down, so we just want to give back to the community.
There's so many good things to talk about as a result of the unrest in Ferguson. We like to talk about the negative things that have happened, but we are going to try to focus on the positive changes. People like Antonia Henley, who's trying to give back to the community. Again, free haircuts for all school-age children today, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. right inside Primetime Barbershop. It'll be going on today as well as next Sunday. So a lot of good things coming out of the unfortunate circumstances that happened a year ago today. Kelly, back to you.
And Andre, it's amazing just to see how the community comes together and moves forward from something so tragic that happened 1 year ago today. We'll check back in a bit. After holding a job fair yesterday, the Ferguson community will come together today for children heading back to school. We have the event details straight ahead.
Keeping an eye on some thunderstorm activity to our north this morning. Will it affect us here locally? Details on the forecast coming up.
Good morning, welcome back. You're watching News 4 this morning. It is 6:18. We're getting a live look down Market Street, a nice view of the skyline there in downtown St. Louis. We've had a little bit of a relief this morning after a hot and sticky Saturday, but it sounds like that's going to come with some storms.
Yes, so we have a frontal boundary that's going to be heading through the area today. The storm system is going to traverse the area basically over the next 36 hours or so. So a little bit unsettled weather. I've been keeping an eye on these storms all night long that have been mainly to our north. You can see on SkyTracker Doppler radar, locally things are quiet, but look at all this activity moving through northern Missouri. So basically this warm front moves across our area today, so the humidity levels are going to increase quite a bit. And then the cold front behind it, that comes through tonight. So on and off chances for rain and storms. But you see these, first of all, let me point out, none of these are severe. We don't have any type of severe thunderstorm warnings, watches, anything like that. What we do have is very heavy rain and a whole lot of lightning, but notice that they're generally moving to the east, maybe just dropping a bit to the south, so could certainly clip some areas, primarily north of St. Louis later this morning. Here's how the Super Predictor sees it. It keeps most of the activity to our north, but by late morning, it's certainly not out of the question that some of you generally north of St. Louis could get a little bit of rain in there. We'll keep an eye on that. As we move through the afternoon, I got to tell you, it looks like we're going to get a pretty good little lull. And then we get our better chance of storms really tonight. So here we are at 9 p.m. and then 11:30 p.m. This is the cold front coming through. Then you can see this will extend back down to the west. So that's our front coming through 3 o'clock in the morning, showers and storms. It looks like by the morning commute, most of the action is down to our south, but we're not done yet. During the afternoon on Monday, we could see more showers and thunderstorms develop. That'll be a possibility throughout the afternoon before finally coming to an end in the evening. As far as the severe weather threat, it's very low. Okay, so the threat area, notice it's in the green here, marginal. That's only a 5% probability of severe weather, very low. And it's not really a tornado maker. This is really more of a high wind maker. So that's our concern. So any storms that develop today, primarily from St. Louis to the north or west, runs that risk that they could potentially become severe. As we move into Monday, that marginal risk area spreads area-wide. So here's a look at how your day goes. At noon, our heat index is 96 degrees. The chance of rain only about 20%. At 5 p.m., we're at 91 with a heat index of 101. The chance of rain still only about 20%. By 9 p.m., the chance of storms ramps up to around 40% and then gets a little bit higher even after that. So here's a look at that extended forecast. We've got storm chances today, tonight, tomorrow. If you have tickets to the opening night of Oklahoma with the Muni, you should be in good shape. I think the rain's over by Monday evening. And then cooler, drier air moves in. Our forecast from Tuesday through Saturday is going to be fantastic. Sunshine, lower temperatures, and lower humidity to boot. Kelly?
Thanks, Kristen. Now to some of our other top stories this morning. People living in the Bevo neighborhood in South St. Louis are taking steps to protect themselves. They attended a self-defense seminar hosted by a St. Louis police officer. He was there giving advice on home security. Also, Lauren Kopp, a martial arts instructor, offered tips on self-defense. He says this is in response to recent crime in that area.
There's just been a lot of things that have been happening. Anytime you're living in any big cities, there's a lot of things that can happen. There's been some home break-ins and some things along the way. And on the social media, some people had been talking about it on Nextdoor and on the Facebook program. So we decided to offer up something to be able to make them feel more secure.
Kopp says he plans to hold the seminar several times a year. Anyone is welcome, not just people living in the Bevo neighborhood. This weekend, people in Ferguson had the opportunity to apply for jobs at more than 40 organizations. The city of Ferguson partnered with several community organizations to host a job fair on Saturday. People learned more about job resources and opportunities to further their education. The job fair is just one of the events planned for Ferguson's Unity Weekend.
We are on the move, we are going forward, and we know the youth need jobs from 18 to 24. We have the Urban League here, and right now we got great news. The Urban League has signed up 12 of our youth for jobs, and they put jobs aside just for Ferguson.
The Unity Weekend events continue this afternoon with a back-to-school celebration and school supply giveaway. It's from 1 until 4 p.m. at the Ferguson Community Center.
I could be in jail or, anywhere right about now if I didn't go into the program.
Molding Men. Coming up after the break, I'll introduce you to a brand new program dedicated to changing the lives of young African-American men right here in North St. Louis County. We'll be right back.
You're watching News 4, watching out for you.
Welcome back to News 4 this morning. I'm Andre Hepkins, live along West Florissant Avenue here in Ferguson. A year ago this time, you couldn't turn on a television, open up a newspaper or magazine without seeing images from West Florissant Avenue because of all the unrest. Well, that unrest led a lot of us here in this community to discover a lot of things, including the fact that a lot of young African-American men in this community didn't have any jobs. So the Urban League of Metropolitan St. Louis came up with a brand new program called Save Our Sons. And the whole purpose is to get people, young people in this community, to reject negativity and embrace positive change. 20-year-old William Ruffin works for Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. His fairly new job changing tires at the Olivet location, among other tasks, has changed the tides of his life.
I can afford stuff now. I mean, I've been doing a lot of stuff for my family, for my mom and everything like that. It's been awesome.
The Rittner High School graduate grew up in St. Louis City and now lives in St. Anne. Just months ago, it seemed as if the concept of working for a living wasn't going to work out.
I thought I would never be here, standing here talking to you. To be standing in this is just mind-blowing.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Mentors molded William's mind here at the Urban League Save Our Sons program. It's headquartered on Jennings Station Road in North St. Louis County. This is where an instructor the epic poem, The Odyssey, to show them how they can overcome obstacles.
Yeah, I could be in jail or, anywhere right about now if I didn't go into the program.
It's a 4-week program. In the first week, they learn how to get a job. The second week, they learn how to keep a job. The third week, they learn how to get promoted. And in the fourth week, they learn how to remain marketable. Save Our Sons is the direct result of the Ferguson unrest that followed the shooting death of Mike Brown on August 9th. Then the chaos that exploded exposed a lot of issues, including the fact that a lot of young African-American men in North St. Louis County didn't have any jobs or any job training.
It had a big effect on me because I actually went to school with Michael Brown when I went to elementary school. So to see something like that happen to somebody of course, it's going to shell shock you.
You saw yourself being in that situation, possibly?
Yeah. When you're not working and you don't have anything to do or you don't have anything to wake up and look forward to, most of the time, only thing you can turn to is trouble. Or, just being in the streets.
But the scary streets ultimately motivated this young man straight toward a different direction.
Save Our Sons changed my life. They did a lot for my life, and they changed me as a person, as a man.
What a powerful story. A young man with whom he went to school was shot dead on Canfield Drive. That traffic light behind me is Canfield Drive. That's where Mike Brown Jr. lost his life. And his death caused young William Ruffin to change his life. The Save Our Sons program is dedicated to young men in North St. Louis County in their late teens to early 40s. What a positive program. I'm live along West Florissant Avenue in Ferguson. Andre Hepkins, News 4. Kelly, back to you.
A powerful program at that. Thank you, Andre. Coming up in our next half hour, we are taking a deeper look at the Ferguson Commission. 9 months after getting to work, is it as effective as we hoped? And we're tracking down the latest information on an overnight house fire explosion in North City.
Live from KMOV, News 4 is covering breaking news.
Breaking news in North St. Louis, where a house exploded overnight. It happened around 1:30 this morning in the 4200 block of Linton, just blocks north of Fairground Park. Firefighters say the home was vacant. The fire spread to 2 other houses, but the flames are now extinguished. No one was injured. Right now, fire investigators and bomb and arson crews are trying to figure out how this happened. Once we get more information, we'll let you know. More breaking news for you this morning. A man is recovering in the hospital after he was shot in the arm. It happened around midnight near West Florissant and Ferguson Avenue. Police are still working to figure out the details, but we do know the suspect is in custody and the victim is in stable condition. And to another developing story, an unmarked fluorescent police vehicle's window shattered late last night. St. Louis County Police are now investigating. We have learned this happened on West Florissant near Ferguson Avenue around the same time as the shooting. Police are not sure if the 2 incidents are related.
Mike Brown means we gotta fight back. Mike Brown means we got to fight back. Mike Brown means we got to fight back.
Good morning and thanks for joining us. I'm Kelly Davis. Protesters are out in Ferguson and throughout St. Louis this weekend, marching and calling for change. Today marks 1 year since the world began watching the events in Ferguson unfold. Just before noon, unarmed 18-year-old Michael Brown Jr. was shot and killed by former police officer Darren Wilson. The atmosphere was tense from the start. Hundreds gathered at the site of the shooting near the Canfield Green Apartments and along West Florissant Avenue. Slowly, calls for change replaced anger and a movement was born. This morning, we are reflecting on where we have been, what changes have been made, and where we are headed as a unified community. Andre Hepkins will join us in just a few minutes from West Florissant. But first, we want to take a deeper look at the Ferguson Commission. It has now been 9 months since the governor swore in the 16 members of the commission to address social and economical unrest. The commission makes its first report to the governor on its progress next month. Back in May, News 4's Craig Cheatham looked into the criticisms of the commission and its effectiveness.
Created by the governor's executive order, the Ferguson Commission is supposed to investigate deep issues of social injustice, identify problems, come up with possible solutions, and put all of that in a detailed report to the governor. But the road to reform is difficult, and some critics say the commission is taking more credit than it deserves for some of that reform.
A lot of those things nobody agreed to, including the statements I made.
This is where the Ferguson Commission and its volunteers get their hands dirty and engage their minds.
People need to be able to sit in the courtroom even if they don't have a ticket.
It's a working group focusing on municipal courts. Under the direction of members of the commission, volunteers who often line up on opposite sides are now working together to identify problems and try to find solutions.
I think what we're doing will have an impact.
Gabriel Gore is a St. Louis attorney and a member of the Ferguson Commission.
The goal here is to really put systems in place that will provide protections to all citizens in all municipal courts.
The commission and some of its volunteers are also taking credit for reform, primarily Senate Bill 5, the municipal court bill written by St. Louis County Senator Eric Schmidt.
I will tell you that Senate Bill 5, while it is not the ultimate solution, is progress, and that it would not have passed without the commission's advocacy.
He's not alone. During my interview with Ferguson Commission co-chairs Rich McClure and Starsky Wilson, both men mentioned the commission's role in pushing Senate Bill 5.
Our job was to spotlight the issue, to bring it to the table, to make sure that legislators understood what those issues were, and we're so pleased they were responsive. And so when Starsky and I were in Jefferson City and met with legislative leadership and talked to them about the priorities, they understood them and they were responsive, and their legislation reflects that, and we're just delighted for that.
But News 4 Investigates confirmed that none of the members of the Ferguson Commission testified in support of Senate Bill 5.
For anyone in the Ferguson Commission to say that they are responsible for Senate Bill 5's passage, they're dead wrong.
Senator Maria Chappelle-Nadell represents Ferguson.
Senate Bill 5 is not the only Ferguson bill.
Senator Chappelle-Nadell says she had other bills that were a direct response to issues resulting from the Ferguson arrest, issues that are being investigated by the commission. But she says the commission never offered support.
There's another bill that dealt with body cameras, and no one from the Ferguson Commission was there. There's another bill that I had dealing with deadly force. No one from the Ferguson Commission was there. So I don't think that they've done their job.
Other critics told me the commission has failed to live up to high expectations. What do you think of it?
Disappointed. Initially had a lot of positive hopes for it.
Reverend Philip Duvall, a longtime civil rights activist, applied for the commission but wasn't selected. He says one of the commission's biggest benefits will be the cushion it may provide for Governor Jay Nixon, who was widely criticized for decisions he made during the Ferguson protests.
There's political theater, something that speaks to the way the governor handled it or mishandled Ferguson. So it speaks to political theater to show to the rest of the world or the country that they're putting some type of effort to address it.
But what will really come from that effort and roughly a $900,000 budget, much of it coming from state taxpayers?
We know what the needs are. I mean, there's nothing the commission is going to come back with that has not been studied.
Adolphus Pruitt is the president of the St. Louis City NAACP. One of his biggest concerns is that there will not be enough funding to pay for the inevitable long list of recommendations proposed in the commission's report to the governor.
It's a significant problem.
I understand where you're going.
We saw some of the best of the Ferguson Commission during this working group. Hard-working volunteers digging in and discussing.
That seems reasonable.
Providing some of the hope that may help us heal.
There's enough blame to go around, so I don't know that it's helpful to point to one sector of people, but rather for all of us to say, what can we do going forward and what kind of commitments are we willing to make?
There were at least 2 members of the Municipal Court Working Group who testified to state lawmakers about municipal court reform. But one of them refused to testify in support of Senate Bill 5, believing it didn't go far enough. And the other one, Attorney Brendan Roediger, the working group volunteer who said it wouldn't have passed without the commission's support, admits he likely would have testified even if the Ferguson Commission didn't exist. Craig Cheatham, News 4.
All morning long, we are reflecting on where we have been, what changes have been made, and where we are headed as a unified community. Andre Hepkins now joins me live from Ferguson on West Florissant. Andre?
Kelly, so much has changed in the past year from the courts, as Craig Cheatham laid out, to the police department. And it's just so hard still to believe that a year ago today, Michael Brown Jr. was shot dead on Canfield Drive, not too far away from where I'm standing, after he was last seen alive inside the Ferguson Market and Liquor Store here along West Florissant Avenue. Yesterday, a sizable group joined Michael Brown Sr., marching from his son's place of death to Normandy High School, his place of graduation. Before that march, I got a one-on-one interview with Michael Brown Sr., who talked to me about his feelings regarding his son's death a year ago, but the change that it has led to in the year since. Take a listen.
He made the movement to open up eyes to help other families.
Yes.
You know, I still look at it, yeah, I lost, but he's still working right now.
You have a foundation now. Okay. I spoke to St. Louis County Police Chief John Bell. And Michael Brown Sr. will return to the site of his son's death this morning in about 4.5 hours from now, 11 o'clock this morning. He will have a moment of silence, 4.5 minutes, to reflect on the 4.5 hours his son's body lay in the street. Also along West Florissant Avenue yesterday, I caught up with St. Louis Police Chief John Belmer. Now, talking about change, we have a new police chief here in Ferguson, and he thinks that the man in charge of the Ferguson Police Department is the right man at the right time. Let's start off with your comment about the new chief of Ferguson.
Well, I really think that it was probably the right guy at the right time. You know, we're looking at a situation here to where there's a certain amount of change expected. I think that Chief Anderson coming into Ferguson has been an outstanding turn of events. Let's just put it that way. So he comes very well prepared. He's thoughtful. He's engaged, and I appreciate working with him. I really do.
The right guy to bring the city forward?
I believe so. I think at some point there is so many pejoratives surrounding Ferguson that positive things need to happen. There's nothing but good people that live here. I mean, we know that. So how do you turn that around? And I think really people do that, and the right people do that.
Community policing, that's a topic that came out of the Ferguson unrest. And yesterday, John Belmer told me that he was going to be joined by Captain Ron Johnson from the Missouri Highway Patrol and the brand new interim Ferguson Police Chief Andre Anderson. And the purpose was to just be out here shaking hands with the community. I'm live along West Florissant Avenue in Ferguson. Andre Hepkins, News 4. Kelly, back inside to you.
Andre, thank you. Now joined by Kristen, who has a look at today's forecast. It looks like there could be some storms in there.
Yeah, we are keeping an eye on some thunderstorm activity. Check out SkyTracker Doppler radar. Most of the News 4 viewing area is dry. However, just in the last few minutes, we've had a few little isolated showers that have popped up south of St. Louis. You can see one there around Waterloo and then extending to just east of Bloomsdale. But the bigger story is these storms moving through northern Missouri. They're not severe, but they're putting down a lot of really heavy rain. A lot of lightning too, and it looks like areas north of St. Louis could be clipped by these a little bit later on this morning. In addition to that, the heat today is going to be an issue mainly west of St. Louis. A heat advisory kicks in at noon and goes through 8 p.m. as heat index values will top out in those areas somewhere between 105 and 110. So this morning, that chance of storms mainly north of Interstate 70 will be in the mid-70s. This afternoon, I think we'll get a bit of a lull in the action. We could have a stray storm or two, but the better chance of storms really moves back in tonight. So coming up in just a few minutes, we'll take a look at that extended forecast. Also check out the Super Predictor, try to break down for you the timing of those storms. Andre, let's toss it back to you.
Plus, dozens of brand new jobs coming to North St. Louis County. We'll tell you how you can apply and get in on the action. We'll be right back.
News 4, watching out for you.
The world watched and we watched as businesses were looted and burned. Ferguson business owners have received millions of dollars in loans and grants to help rebuild. But as Don Champion found, it's not as easy as it sounds. This morning, many of the scars remain.
The Little Caesars here in Ferguson is rebuilding from scratch. Protesters burned it to the ground last year in the unrest after the police shooting of Michael Brown.
Basically starting over. That's a very difficult thing.
More than 200 businesses suffered in the protests, either physical damage or a significant drop in revenue. The St. Louis Economic Development Partnership has assisted with loans and cleanup for close to 70 businesses.
Customers do not like to go into a building with a burned building right next to it. So it was very important to us to help bring these burned structures down.
The remains of the Quick Trip sat for months. Now the Urban League is building a community center here, but other damaged sites still bear the scars. Galen Gandolfi works for a nonprofit that has provided microloans to more than 50 businesses in the last year.
Ferguson is built on small businesses, and the future of Ferguson, much of it is going to depend on the vitality of those small businesses.
One of those loans helped Kiana and Ronell Burns keep their salon open.
The walk-in traffic and just revenue coming in was very slow, but a year later now, we're kind of back where we were.
20 damaged businesses remain closed for now, but like the Burns, most owners say they're determined to stay and rebuild.
Andre Hepkins joins us now live to talk about some major construction projects happening in North St. Louis County that's bringing hundreds of new jobs to the area, another sign of progress. Andre?
That's right, Kelly, and it's welcome news following last summer's unrest. And just last week, News 4 Investigates Chris Nagus showed us one of the more visible signs of economic progress in this area.
If you drive on 270 near New Halls Ferry Road, you can't miss it, a huge construction project. Motorists might be wondering what's going on here. This will soon be the site of hundreds of new jobs. 1 year ago, it was the site of a closed-down car dealer with little promise. Today, Clayton-based Centene Corporation's Future Service Center rises 3 stories above a prominent Ferguson corner. The St. Louis Economic Development Partnership's interim CEO says the county executive is committed to bringing more scenes like this.
Steve Stanger has told us to really focus and make sure that North County is redeveloped and rises up from the events of last summer.
Centene's $15 million 200-job expansion is big, but not alone. In nearby North Park, Schnucks is investing nearly $100 million to construct a new state-of-the-art warehouse that will retain 400 jobs. North Park will also see the addition of Swedish-based SKF. It will build a new technology and manufacturing center that will add nearly 75 jobs to the nearly 400 already employed in St. Louis. And just across the road, Boeing is adding 700 jobs, a $300 million construction investment. I asked Sheila Sweeney what else is happening behind the scenes to bring further expansion, and although she can't talk specific companies, she insists others are looking.
We have a very good pipeline of businesses interested in going into North County, near North County, really throughout.
As for Centene's new service center, it is expected to be open and operating by the end of this year. In North County, Chris Nagus, News 4.
Coming up next in sports, the Cardinals are on quite the scoreless streak, but can they keep it up against the Brewers in Milwaukee? We'll let you know.
I'm keeping an eye on some pretty strong thunderstorms north of the area this morning and a few little showers that have developed locally just in the last 30 minutes. I'll let you know what to expect for your Sunday coming up next. Welcome back. You're taking a live look from the First Cloverleaf Bank Ion St. Louis camera as we look west down Market Street. Some high clouds in the area this morning. We've got some rain in the forecast. Let me kind of get you into the details here. We have a warm front lifting through the area this morning. Most of it, well, it's to our north for the most part, and that's where most of the action is. But in the last few minutes, really the last half an hour, we've seen a few little showers start to creep up, particularly south of St. Louis. So there's one right around Waterloo and then extending down along the Mississippi River there just west of Chester. So these are just showers, not seeing any lightning in any of this yet. Not to say we couldn't hear a few rumbles of thunder, but not a big concern at this point. The big show is what's happening over northern Missouri this morning. These storms look pretty nasty, but they're not severe. There's no watches, no warnings, but well, I should say no severe thunderstorm warnings. There are some flash flood warnings because these are putting down really heavy rain. Also a lot of lightning with these. For the most part, they're moving to the east, but they are moving, taking a little bit more of a southerly component. So I think areas primarily north of Interstate 70 later this morning could get hit with a few of those showers and thunderstorms. Take a look at our super predictor starting the clock at 8 a.m. You can see the chance of some scattered activity here later this morning. I think for most of the afternoon, we're in a bit of a lull. The activity during that time frame should be very isolated in nature, I think, and then the probabilities of rain start to ramp back up the later in the day that we get. So here we are at 6 p.m. seeing some scattered storms, and then pausing the clock here at 10 p.m. still seeing that scattered activity. The best chance of rain comes during the overnight hours. This is when our cold front moves through, so rain and thunderstorms looking pretty likely overnight. The rain could be heavy at times. I think we enter a little bit of a lull in the morning, and then we could still have a few scattered thunderstorms popping up Monday afternoon as well before coming to an end Monday night. But the activity for your Monday doesn't look quite as widespread. Let's talk about a threat for severe weather. The Storm Prediction Center has issued what's called a marginal risk area from St. Louis to the north and west today. This is a very low threat for severe weather, only about a 5% probability, and the concern would be high winds. Tomorrow, that threat spreads for the entire News 4 viewing area. So low risk that some of these storms could get strong or severe. Here's how the day looks. Partly to mostly cloudy skies. At noontime, our chance of rain only 20%. It's still 20% at 5 p.m., but the heat index, look at that, 101. By 9 p.m., that chance of rain ramps up to about 40%. Here's a look at the extended forecast. So chances of storms today, tonight, and tomorrow. Beyond that, much more pleasant weather. Tuesday through Saturday, cooler, dry, lots of sunshine, and the humidity levels are going to drop significantly. Stay tuned.
The last time the St. Louis Cardinals gave up a run, it was the 4th inning on Wednesday night in Cincinnati. Since then, the Redbirds pitching staff rolled off 27 straight scoreless innings heading into last night's game. We pick up the game in the 7th inning. Redbirds with the lead when Piscotti delivers, making it 3-0 Cardinals. After 7 innings, 2 hits, and no runs, 5 strikeouts, Jaime Garcia is taken off the mound. He's replaced by closer Trevor Rosenthal, who does just that. Cards take home another victory and another shutout. They now have gone 36 straight innings without allowing a run. We're tracking several stories for you this morning. A house explodes in North St. Louis overnight. Coming up, we'll let you know what fire officials have to say.
I am News 4 this morning anchor Andre Hepkins live along West Florissant Avenue here in Ferguson, 1 year after Mike Brown Jr. was shot dead. This morning, we'll be looking at his death, but we'll also look at all the changes, the positive changes that have come to this community in the years since. Don't go anywhere. Another hour of News 4 this morning is coming right your way.